you know Roger Penske, and I know Roger. Uh, he had to be embarrassed about this. I mean, you cannot convince me that Roger knew about this. So, do you think that's something that the team went on and did on their own, or do you think Roger said, "Yeah, go ahead and cheat"?
That's a tough one. I don't know. I mean, all I can say, if that would happen on our team, Rob Edwards would have been let go immediately. If something was going on that I didn't know about. Now, do I think that Roger didn't know exactly about it?
It's the Kenny Wallace Conversation, brought to you by JEGS.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Kenny Conversation, brought to you by JEGS, the leader in high-performance aftermarket car parts. Remember to go to jegs.com to get anything for your hot rod, and they are telling me now they have Jeep parts and pickup truck parts in stock for you. Man, I'll tell you what, I got goosebumps. I'm nervous about this one. You are looking at him right now. One of the greatest open-wheel drivers of all time, Michael Andretti. Michael, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. How you doing?
Well, man, I tell you, I've been thinking about this for days. I got nervous. I got your phone number from Jay Fry, who runs Indycar. Look at you, man. All them. Where are you coming to me from right now?
In my house in Indianapolis. Well,
Thank you.
Fishers, Indiana. Yep.
There's so much to talk about, but I want to start with those trophies behind you.
Okay.
Listen to this. I want to say this, and then I want you to respond to it. Michael Andretti, one of the greatest open-wheel racers of our time with 42 race victories. Only AJ Foyt and your dad have more than you. When I simply say that and looking at those trophies behind you, what's that make you feel like?
Well, it makes me proud for sure. Unfortunately, Scott Dixon has passed me and my dad, but
yeah. Yeah, well, he's still racing. You're not.
Exactly. But no, it's very proud. I mean, my biggest goal when I got into driving, I knew I wasn't going to fill my dad's footprints or shoes, I should say, and I set my own goals, and that was to win as many races as I could. And at that time, I retired at third on the all-time list, most in kart, and so at least I reached one of my goals.
But I wouldn't listen. I'm going to put you on a pedestal where I think you belong. I'm 60 years old. I was born in 1963. And what I remember was that great Texaco Havoline commercial where you and your dad were doing it. And your dad, the great Mario Andretti, he says, "My boy Michael passed me. We bumped wheels." And he said, "Adios."
That's right.
You passed your dad. You went on and you carved this incredible career out. I mean, hell, just count to 42. That's a lot of wins against the best there is. So, just from me to you, my friend, I admire you. Hey, let's talk about that commercial for a minute. Tell me about those days with Texaco Havoline.
Those are great days. Those were the heyday for sure. That's where we were winning everything at the time. And, and I was still driving with my dad, which was pretty cool. We've spent so many great memories with the family in racing, and being a teammate to dad was one, but, finishing on the podium many times, starting on the front row many times, and, cousin John being a part of it, and my brother, being the only four members or four family members in the 1991 Indy 500, which has never been done before. So, we've done so many things as a family. So I think that's what's really made, I think, not only mine, but I think my dad's career so special.
I mean this very respectful. You sound, your verbiage is all American, but I know your dad is a true Italian. Came over and he's talked about it several times. Have you ever gone back to your father's homeland in Italy and see where it all started?
Oh yeah, it's amazing. It's a really amazing story. He's the true American dream. And to where he came from and to where he ended up is just amazing. But yeah, it was a beautiful part of the world over there, and it's not. I think it's Slovakia now. It wasn't. He in the war where he was born. was Italy, but in the war it became Yugoslavia, so he had to leave. But we got to go back to his hometown of Lucca, or of Montana, which was really cool.
Wow, that is pretty impressive to think that. Do you ever look at your dad and go, "Damn, he's been through a lot." And you just look into his eyeballs. I mean, because obviously he had to move because he was part of a war. They kicked him
Mhm.
out.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, it's
yeah,
amazing. My grandfather, owned like 2,000 acres at the time, and he lost it all in the war. And they had to just pick up and leave one night and head to Lucca, which is where they lived for 7 years within a building where there was 1,500 people. They shared a room with 5 families for 7 years. So, it was a tough story for it's a tough time for Dad in this story, but I think it's one of the things that makes it pretty amazing where he's come from.
yeah. I talked to the Felix Sabatas. He came from Cuba. He was a NASCAR car owner, and
Hmm.
Felix
Yeah,
had to escape, that regime. And
yeah.
his story's a little similar, but he's not as famous as the
Ah,
Andretti family. Those trophies behind you. Now, I want to tell you, I do this all the great ones. I made sure I studied up on you,
oh, oh,
but
oh.
but you're just giving me a lot right away.
Mm,
When you look at those trophies, when certainly you're going to pass those trophies every once in a while that are
mhm.
behind you. Maybe you might look at them once a month or whatever it is. What's the one? What's the two or three trophies that make you smile? Bring back a good memory. The ones behind
Um,
you.
I'd say one of them is the Australian Trophy, where I was in Formula One, and I was let go before the end of the year, and I was able to sign on with Chip Ganassi, and came back and won my very first race back in the States against the great Nigel Mansell,
Yeah,
and gave Chip his first win as well. So that's a pretty special one. And I think maybe Laguna Seca in '91. It's where I won the championship that day. Won the race, won the Marlboro Challenge at that time, and Dad was on the podium there to share it with me. So that was a very special day.
that that Formula One deal that you just talked about. I'm a racer, right? I remind everybody, hell, I ran 905 NASCAR races, so
Wow.
I'm not as good as you, but buddy, we're brothers. When
Yep.
you brought up that Formula One deal, I remember the great Dale Earnhardt Sr. telling me, give Nigel time to get used to the Indy cars. Uh, I didn't think you got a lot of time over in Formula One, in my opinion. I guess when you go over to Formula One, you better go now. Uh, but
It,
then you come back and you kick Nigel's ass. So touche.
touche. It was. I could write a book about it. It was one of those programs that was never gonna be successful. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
Was never meant to be successful, we should say.
Yeah, you have a good tongue because I feel like I'm a lover and I'm good to people, but when things need to be said, I say them. You and Jimmy Johnson and Jeff Gordon are a lot alike. You you you're careful in what you say. So I just want to say this. I think I know the whole story about you in Formula One, and I think you're a badass, and that just proved it by you saying what one of your favorite trophies is. So. Um, Anything else to say about that?
About that, which part? The F1 stuff?
Yeah.
Um, Not really. It's just this was disappointing the way it all ended up for sure. But we're gonna try to go back there in a different way.
Yes. Yes. And I want everybody to know. I know there's a lot of people listening to this on this Monday night, and out of respect for Michael and everybody involved, we're not going to talk about that. So just thank you for brushing over that. There's too much going on right now,
A lot
and
going on. Yeah, a lot that we don't want to talk about it too much, but it's all positive. It's
yeah,
all.
yeah. PMA, positive mental attitude. Well, listen, Kenny Conversation, Michael, is just that. You know, we can go anywhere you want, but let's start like this. I've already laid the groundwork. You know what I think of you. 1991 kart champion, 42 race victories. You're saying Scott Dixon passed you, but listen, you're up here, and when you walk down pit road, I mean, like in 2 days, it's going to be May. So we're at the very end of April right now, and when we think of the Indy 500, May 26th this year, but buddy, when you get to May 1st, I mean, that's called the month of May. What are you thinking about right now? You got Indy here, the month of May 1st in 2 days. What are you thinking about?
Well, for sure, definitely when you were a driver, that was a big focus.
Yeah.
With us, we've got so many things going, but yeah, May's a big month still. For us, it's a very important day, couple weeks, I should say. In the day when we used to be driving there, it used to literally be a month. Now it's only 2 weeks, but I remember that sometimes this month feels like a year going on. It's sometimes it can be a really tough month, but we always look forward to it as competitors. It's the greatest race in the world, and yeah, that's the big goal. It's our Super Bowl.
I raced in the Daytona 500, and
Yep.
it was always nerve-wracking to me. But once you took the green flag, and as I know, you get settled in the seat, you're racing. But I was always happy to leave Daytona. Were you always happy to leave Indy and get what we call real racing, or were you sad when the month of May was over?
Well, the way my races always went, I was very happy to get out of there. Never won the race, so led a lot of laps there. Should have won it, a bunch of times, but didn't. So
led
yeah,
the most laps.
I was always looking forward to Milwaukee at that time.
Yeah, well, your stats at Indy are off the charts.
It's weird. It's weird. That was literally one of my best racetracks. Like I had some of my most dominant races in my career, and to not have a win there is definitely a little frustrating, but wasn't meant to be.
You and I are both mentally strong. You have to be in racing. You got to be a badass. Nobody better than me. I win everything, and that's the way you got to think.
Sure.
So when you see guys win the Indy 500, now listen, we've watched people win the Daytona 500, and you're like, how in the hell did he win that damn race and never went on to win another race in his life? When you see people win the Indy 500 I'm not saying don't deserve it, but have gone on to maybe win 2 races in their life, do you ever look up at God and go, what was that about? Or just ignore
I don't know
it?
if I look at God, but I'm like, yeah, what the heck, It's like, yeah, it's a little frustrating, to see, but it is what it is. Like I said, for whatever reason, it was just never meant to be, and you just got to accept it, right?
Yeah, you're so cool. But now listen, we kind of go in steps here. Let's change a little bit. You are an incredibly successful car owner now, and if I'm right, correct me. You have won 4 Indy 500s. 5?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I don't know where the hell I missed that one. Thank you. Keep correcting me. So here you are now, a car owner, and you'd won 5 Indy 500s, and you got this team rolling. You have 3 drivers. You just took the point lead yesterday down in Birmingham, Alabama. Colton Herta is leading the points. That's a big deal. It's all over social media. You got Kyle Kirkwood, Marcus Ericsson. Is it 3 cars for this year's Indy 500?
No, there'll be 4. Marco's going to be joining us at Indy as well. So.
Marco, my man.
Yeah.
Your boy.
Yep.
So I love him. I got to meet him when we would run these
SRX.
Yeah, when we run the SRX. He's a bad boy. Bitch, he'll use the bumper.
Oh, yeah.
He knocked me out of the way down there in Stafford, Connecticut. I'm like, hey, come back here. So tell me about that. That's I like that news. Tell me about Marco running for you this year's Indy 500.
Yeah, we're excited to have him back on. He retired from Indycars from doing the full season, but he just, in his mind, he still wants to win the Indy 500, and he drives very well at the Indy 500. He's led many, many laps as well, and he should have won it a few times as well. So yeah, he still has had a big goal, and I couldn't imagine anything bigger than if he were to win it.
You love your boy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's awesome. So yesterday, uh, you ran in Birmingham, Alabama, and that's close to Talladega, and
Yep.
that
Yep.
the great Bobby Allison family is around Hueytown. I had no idea about that road course down there. I know it's hard to pass on, but boy, that's a beautiful setting down there. Tell me, how much did you know about this place before you all started racing there?
I'm trying to think. I don't remember the first race that we went back there. I remember we went there testing one time. I think there was an open test there to see how it would be, and it was actually built for motorcycles, the racetrack. And they found that it would be good for Indy cars. So we've been there for quite some time now. But the place is beautiful. I mean, it's kept like a golf course. It's really well kept. It's a great layout. A little tough to pass, but boy, it looks a very challenging track because there's a lot of elevation changes and really fast corners. So yeah, it's a cool place.
I am I didn't start racing until I was like 22 because
Wow.
I'm a fabricator mechanic first.
Hmm.
I was a crew chief on the Levi Garrett car for Joe Ruttman, 1984. So I understand a thing or two about cars. It seems to me that your Indy cars are a little stronger than they've ever been. Those boys were beating the hell out of each other yesterday. Why are your cars? How can those cars take the abuse now? What did they change in those cars, or did they just get lucky? Because they were hitting wheels really hard yesterday in Birmingham.
Yeah, there's nothing different in the cars to make them stronger. I think it's just guys got lucky and the way they hit, they just didn't, cut a tire, break a wing or whatever. So yeah, I think they were just lucky.
I'll be damned. I'm gonna tell you what, I was glued to that race. We had the NASCAR race going on at Dover, and I finished watching your guys race. Those cup races can get a little long, and
A
I
little
thought,
bit.
well, I,
Yeah.
I got time. So let me see here. You guys had great finishes. Eighth for Colton. He took the
Yeah, it was a
point.
struggle. It was a struggle weekend. I mean, we struggled for pace and qualifying, and in the race, the cars were pretty good, but starting in the back there was tough. But also, there was two different strategies. There was a 2 pit stop strategy and 3 pit stop strategy, and the way the yellows came, we were looking good at one time on the strategy, then the yellow comes in and throws it off. So it was a little bit of a strange race, but in the end, it didn't work out quite well for us. But I thought Colton did a good job coming back, and those drives when you start in the back and you come and you collect points like the fifth, sixth, and seventh and eighth. Those are the ones that hopefully are going to help you win the championship. So that was a big day for him.
I will never forget the great Dale Earnhardt Sr. I was complaining to Dale Sr. I said, "Oh, I'll run second again." And boy, he straightened me out real quick, like you just did.
Mm.
Boy, you keep taking those top tens. That's what wins you championships.
All
Uh,
right.
it's definitely better than wrecking out. So
Yep.
listen, we know how serious our racing is, but something happened yesterday that was off the charts that I think helped IndyCar. And I want to talk about promotion for a little bit. I see a big gap. I'm a little disappointed with the whole. You all raced 2 weeks ago, and I didn't know you were racing. I thought the promotion was lacking. But yesterday, we had a damn mannequin, a mannequin fall during the race, and that was as big. That was as big as the race, even though it shouldn't have been. My point is this, Michael: has there been talk, even though you're a car owner, you're in the mechanics, you're in the shop, has there been talks about promotion lacking uh, for
Yeah.
IndyCar?
Yeah, I've been pushing that pretty hard. I think we need to look at our series. If we want to really grow, we have to, take it out of the mom and Paul stage and bring it into, professional stage. And it's going to take big dollars to get there, and so I just challenged Roger a few weeks ago, and he wasn't happy about it, but I just felt like it's important to say that, we need to really work on that side of it because, we have the greatest racing in the world and not many people know about it. And that's not right.
So for me, I'm going to push two hot buttons here, and I don't want you to get in trouble whatsoever.
Mhm.
But as a racer, number one, we got the push to pass button down at St. Pete over a month ago. And for me, I was bored. My dirt racing got rained out this week. So I had nowhere to race on Friday, nowhere to race on Saturday. So I got to run in my mouth on X, because that's what I do. I'm a shit disturber. Not really. I know Jay Fry and his wife, and I know Mr. Penske. But I just could not believe. So let me ask you this. I want to talk about the promo deal. Why don't we know that there's racing going on? Is it too much of a club mentality? Like we're just racing, we don't need people to watch? Or is it all about we're not promoting right?
Well, we're not promoting right, but I think, part of that is you got to have a big budget behind you to do that. So it's going to take a big investment to get there. $20 million here and there isn't going to do it. It's going to take $200 million, behind it to get it to where it really should be. So, those are the challenges that I put to Roger, and I'm hoping he's looking at it. He's definitely talking a lot more positive about things and investing in things. So, hopefully we're going in the right direction.
So I just learned a little bit of something. Jennifer, somebody took a picture of you going in a bus on Sunday, and they said it was Roger's bus. Whether it was or not, I thought you all would be talking about this push to pass button, which I'm not very smart on. But you're telling me that you guys talking about marketing IndyCar better. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, that's not what that meeting was about. It was more, Roger apologized and took responsibility for what happened, with the push to pass. But we talked a little bit about it. But, I think we're going to have more meetings in the month of May about it, on ideas and what to do to make our series better.
Well, I got to tell you, from the outside looking in, I don't know anything that you know, and I admire all of you. But that racing is too good to not know when you're racing.
Exactly.
That was on rabbit ears yesterday. When we were growing up, it's like, look, you just needed an antenna. It was on Channel 5 here in St. Louis. And I thought I was going to tune in and they were all going to be going around. And buddy, it looked like the old NASCAR days. I mean, they were off in the grass spinning out and mannequins falling out of the air. And it was a hell of a show. And then that channel, and yet then NBC stayed with you guys. They had a great follow-up. So
oh, they did. That's good. I didn't know that.
Yeah, they stayed. They stayed for a good 15 minutes interviewing everybody. And
oh, cool.
But yeah, you all have a great product. There's no doubt. And I just thought that, the show's so good that we all ought to know about it. And that was the big rage 2 weeks ago. Everybody was screaming, why didn't we know the race was happening?
Mm-hmm.
So I guess you heard the same thing. Did you hear everybody saying
sure, we know this? Yeah. I mean, Long Beach was, I think it was on USA or something, and nobody really knew about it, and the rating was horrible. So yeah, it definitely has got to be promoted better. No question about it. But it's even beyond that. There's got to be a lot more behind it. I think we got to look at hiring the right people and things like that. People that have turned franchises around, sports around, that have taken a sport that was not well known to making it, a very well known sport. So we need to look for people like that to hire and then let them go and do their thing and spend the money in the right places to get it to where it needs to be. That's what I think.
You bring up a good point, because we know what we know. And then we bring in somebody that we think, oh, this guy doesn't know anything about racing. Well, maybe he doesn't need to know about racing,
Mm-hmm.
but maybe he can help put that sport on the map.
Exactly.
This damn man, this NFL is out of hand. I mean, they're 150,000. Can you believe what we saw in Detroit? The 150,000 people, just a mass of people just to listen who's going to choose a player.
I know, it's crazy.
We got a long way to go, Michael.
Yeah, we do.
But I like your idea that to bring somebody in that does that. They don't got to know about wings and motors.
No.
They just That's really good stuff. So thank you for talking to me about that. That was, I know, difficult, but you and Roger have talked about it. That's breaking news in the garage area, as I always say. Breaking news in the garage area. Michael Andretti and Roger Penske talk about promoting the sport a little better. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. Okay, let's go back to what was it? March 10th, St. Petersburg. So the IndyCar series, a little over a month later, like middle of April, they said, okay, Penske Racing, specifically, Joseph Newgarden and McLaughlin, the winner yesterday. Will Power never pushed this button, but they shouldn't even have had it in their car. Can you shed, because I'm not smart on this and I'm not pretending to be. I listened to the press conference. I read everything. What is your opinion on this whole deal?
My opinion is they knew exactly what they had. They used it, especially Joseph, and it was an advantage. I mean, he blew by Colton at the start of the race and things. So, it was noticeable, and it may have made a difference in the race. So yeah, it's disappointing for sure that they went and they did that. And I just wish they just would owned it more and just said, hey, all right, we got busted, let's go on. Instead, the drivers had their story, Cindric had his story, and some of the others had their. None of the stories matched up. They should have just went with it and been transparent about it. Whereas I really give Jay, when you talk about Jay, that was a gutsy move to expose it, and go and give Roger that penalty, that to take all the points away from the team and the win. That was a gutsy move for Jay, for sure. So I applaud them for being transparent on that side of it. But yeah, it was just an unfortunate, disappointing thing.
So, NASCAR has been way behind for years. Our cars have been, Roman chariots. I mean, they've been way behind, and we know. And I happily accept the old IndyCar guys calling us taxi cab racers. That's fine.
That's what I
It's
used
funny.
to say.
Yeah, right. Them damn taxi cab guys. Hey, hold on. I need to hold my thought right there. This is perfect timing. I want to follow up with. I want to come back in just a second and ask you how they think they weren't going to get caught. But right there, did you ever consider running the NASCAR Cup Series?
Funny story. There was a point where I was looking at it. I did IROC. I don't remember. I think it was like 87, and I was running, with Dale Earnhardt, and Dale was all over me. He wanted me to go and drive for his what was it called at that time? The
DEI?
The Xfinity series. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
What was it? I don't remember what it was called at that time. And he was like begging me, you got to come, you got to try, you got to run. And we were at Michigan in the IROC, and we both went into turn 3 and 4 side by side. We touched, and he went into the wall and never talked to me after that.
So, oh my God.
So that was it.
Yeah. Well, I always tell everybody this quick story when my wife's Catholic and I'm Lutheran, and we went to pre-Cana class, and Father John looked at me and said, now, what are you going to do when you grow up? I said, I'm going to be a race car driver. He said, oh, my young man, be careful. Competition will kill you. So you got, wow. Charlie, we need to record that segment right there. Michael Andretti got one on Dale Sr. that day. So yeah, it never happened. Well, I always wondered because, there's always a little interest, somebody, crossing over and driving, the big heavy cars. But well, what a great story. Okay, so let's go back to St. Pete for a minute. I was telling you how ancient our cars are. They were. Now here we are. We've upgraded, get better, still old. But we can take and plug right into our motors now. And I know you guys were way ahead of this before us. when the Penske team had this push to pass button, in your mind, just as I call this de-bullshitting the situation, I mean, they had to know
You
they
know
were
where
going to pull. I mean,
yeah.
how could one think they were going to get away with that?
I don't know. I mean, I think it's funny how the whole thing was exposed. It was all by mistake. So what happened was that at Long Beach, they forgot to turn on the push to pass in the morning warm up. IndyCar did, and the only three cars that had push to pass in the warm up were the Penske cars. So that's what exposed it, and that's what got them to start looking at it. Otherwise, they had it in, so they were going to use it at Long Beach, which would have been a big advantage. So to say that it was by mistake, it's why would you still have it in if you knew that you used it by mistake
Yeah. Okay.
at the first race. So yeah, that's where things they should have just not said anything and just said, okay, we screwed up and go on. But because they were going to use it at Long Beach if they didn't get caught.
And as Paul Harvey used to say, and that's the rest of the story. Okay. That's exclamation mark. So you know Roger Penske, and I know Roger. He had to be embarrassed about this. I mean, you cannot convince me that Roger knew about this. So do you think that's something that the team went on and did on their own? Or do you think Roger said, yeah, go ahead and cheat?
That's a tough one. I don't know. I mean, all I can say, if that would happen to on our team, Rob Edwards would have been let go immediately. If something was going on that I didn't know about. Now, do I think that Roger didn't know exactly about it? Yeah. Did he give the permission to do stuff? Maybe. I don't know. Possible. I just don't know. I mean, that's something that we'll always speculate on and we just don't know for sure. But I guess, I would have handled it a lot different with my employees if somebody did that, purposely and didn't tell me. I wouldn't be happy about that. That's our
Yeah.
reputation, it's Roger's reputation. How could they do that? And if you're going to do that, you should have to pay the price.
Yeah. Well, listen, thank you so much. I threw a couple darts at you. One was about, advertising IndyCar a little more. I love racing, Michael. I'm a racer like you are. And
Hmm.
I want all racing to succeed. And then thank you for also addressing that push to pass deal. So now we can move on.
Hmm.
Um, I as I look at your career now, in my opinion, you know, I see more drivers now doing what you did. And what you did was shocked me by you quit racing at like 41 years old. To me at that time, that was crazy young. Nowadays, in my world, you look at Jeff Gordon, Tony Stewart, Jimmy Johnson, all these great NASCAR drivers, they all peeled out at that age too. Now they still racing, they're still playing around. So my question to you is, what was going through your head at that time to quit racing at such a young age and see ownership in your future? Like it shocked me.
Um, a few years before I retired, I started looking at what am I going to do beyond my driving years, and I wanted to stay in the sport I love. I mean, it's all I know, right, is racing, and so I started to get interested. I've always been interested in the business side of it, even when I was on teams like with Chip and Carl Haas and stuff. I always had a lot of input on what was going on within the team and stuff, and gave ideas, and so I always had a lot of interest in that. So I started to look at that I wanted to you know get into ownership. So then and the other thing that I always wanted to do, and I promised myself, was that when I retire, I want to know when I retire that I could have won that last race that I was in. I
Mm,
fade away. I didn't want to be like AJ and things like that. So it actually worked out perfect for me. I was able to end up buying the team that I was driving for, and then I, retired leading. I was literally leading the Indy 500 when the engine quit, and that was
mm.
I retired. So I knew I could win that race, you know, so from that standpoint, it was satisfying.
That was a very emotional day.
Yeah.
You know, as you were, you know, I'm goosebumps right now thinking about it. Everybody knows the story with the Andrettis at Indy. So when you were running the Indy 500 as a driver, I'm going to go a little different area here. You were you living up there around Nazareth, Pennsylvania?
Hmm. Yeah.
It- it- this is hard for me to. So let me just tell my truth real quick. I left to Charlotte, North Carolina because it was too toxic. In other words, you know, if I went to eat lunch, you know, people would be in every restaurant on a Tuesday going, "What happened?" I'm like, "I run 15th." Yeah, well, why'd you suck?
Hmm.
And I'm like, "Screw this place." You know
Hmm.
what? I'm going back to St. Louis where my buddies are. You know, I've raced NASCAR my whole life. So it shocked me to see you move to Indy. Uh, you're in Indianapolis right now. What made you move to Indy?
The race team, you know, I was a little naive. I thought at the time when I bought the team, it was, you know, '03 was our first year, that I'd be able to do it, you know, not being there every day and being on it. And, you know, it just wasn't working out that way. It came a point where I had to move here for the race team and to show that I was here and committed to it. And so that's why I did. And I gotta say, I'm very happy I did. I love it here in Indy. I really do. It's a great place to live. It's a great place to raise a family, and I really enjoy it.
I am going to come up to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway on like a Wednesday, May 15th,
Oh, come by.
because yeah, I want to see you in person.
Hmm.
And I I tell you, I got to admit, when I grew up as a kid, it was Mario Andretti and AJ Foyt. That's my whole childhood.
Hmm.
So when I see you in real, I'll probably just stare at you for a minute, make sure you're real.
Yeah.
And I'm coming up on Wednesday because I'm a racer. And I don't I mean, I know the Indianapolis 500 is incredible, but I want to look at the cars, and I want to see you guys in your environment. Um, so when you leave your house and you go over to the speedway, are you able to separate this since you live in Indy? Like, how far is the Indy? How is the race? How far is the racetrack from you? And I mean, I just this whole Andretti and Indianapolis Motor Speedway. It's like you have forgiven the racetrack and you went on and you won 5 as an owner. Tell me that whole dynamic. You in Indy and you're living there now.
Yeah, it's funny. You know, when you're living here, I'm like 20 some miles away from the track. It's weird. It's like you're separated, and then you go down under a tunnel and you see the museum, and it's like you're in a different world. And it just all, I don't know. There's something about it. You get you get the butterflies and things like that. You know, this place is so special from that standpoint, and I think it'll always be that way.
No doubt. What did you think? This is going to be an odd question. What did you think when NASCAR brought their Roman chariots to race at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway?
Um, yeah, a little disappointed because I think that was the beginning of the problems for IndyCar. Because I think at that point, this is my own opinion. I don't have facts to prove it, but I think um, France at the time, you know, was with Tony George, and I think, you know, he tried to convince him that he should start his own series, you know, because, you know, the cart was getting too big, and, you know, that it was going to overshadow the speedway and things like that. And I think that's where the buzz got in Tony's ear, and you know, and then that, you know, obviously it just about killed IndyCar racing, you know, with the two series. So that was that. From my standpoint, that was not a good time, you know, for IndyCar.
Yeah, I agree with you. As a fan, I didn't like to see some of the drivers over here, some
Mhm.
of the drivers over here. Now with Roger Penske owning the Indianapolis Motor Speedway uh, at a high age. I mean, Roger's of age. Uh, do you think the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, obviously, Roger, as smart as he is, one of the most iconic businessmen in the world, do you think the Indianapolis Motor Speedway is in a good spot right now?
Tough question.
Okay, that's all.
Roger loves the speedway. Obviously, that's everything to him. And I guess when it comes to the speedway itself, I think Roger's done a lot of really good things. And I think it's more the series that I think needs more help to help raise the 500 as well. But yeah, it's I don't know. I don't know if it's in a better spot or not. I mean, I know Rogers, um, got a lot of things he wants to do yet with it and stuff, which I hope happens. And I think yeah, he is up there in age. But you talk to people like Greg Penske and stuff. He's on it too, and I think he's got some good ideas as well for the future. So hopefully, the day that Roger's not here, that Greg will be able to take over, and I think he's got a lot of good ideas. Could be good for his future.
That's good to hear. This is going to be another odd question. When I think of people taking over, I look at them and I look at their color, their skin, whether they look good or not. Your dad. Oh my
Amazing.
God, what in the world? I mean, and I mean this is awesome. This is one of the best. I mean, there was a story I read years ago that over in the villages in Italy, that even though they had high cholesterol, it never bothered them. And I always thought about the people that came from Italy, the wine, what was it about with their arteries?
Right.
Your father looks like he's going to live to 125 at least.
Oh God, I hope so. That'd be awesome. Yeah, he's amazing. I don't know. I think one of the things is he's always doing something. He never sits down, always tinkering with whatever, on the road a lot. Yeah. So, I think that's a big thing. When you get older, you got to keep yourself going. And he does. I mean, he was driving the 2-seater all the way up until last year. He's 83 years old, driving the 2-seater, still doing 200 miles per hour around the speedway. So, yeah, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it really is. And I know that, and we're not going to talk about it, but I think that Formula One deal lit a fire underneath his ass, because he's jacked up on Mountain Dew right now. He's ready to go.
Absolutely. That's where I hope we really get it, even for him, just to be able to go and, be a part of it and be around it, because he loves Formula One. He lives for it, and be part of, of a race team in F1, I think would be huge for him. And I think it'll keep him going for sure for many more years if we get in there.
Yeah, that's badass. Okay, we're at the end here. I just want to say this, and when I look at IndyCar right now, these are just some of the names that come to my mind. What I noticed about the IndyCar race in Birmingham, Alabama, was there was a healthy car count, 27 cars. Now, I'm behind. I get it, okay? I don't know your business, but I thought that's a lot of cars, 27. And when you look at the owners, you got yourself, the great Michael Andretti, AJ Foyt, with what do you say, that Ferrucci? Yeah. He'll come to the Chili Bowl every once in a while. And I think it's funny,
Yep.
but it's because it's cool. And of course, Roger Penske, Chip Ganassi. What are some of the other teams that I don't see on my radar that are really good teams in IndyCar? What teams did I not mention that you give a nod to?
McLaren, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're a real threat. They're a really good team. Ray Hall, they get their shots in there as well. Then you look at little teams like Juncos, they're doing a pretty good job. So yeah, there's the level of competition has never been this high, all the way through the field. There's just not a week. Yeah. I mean, even on any day, any one of those teams can win a race, and that's what's pretty cool about it.
Yeah, and that's why I wanted to bring that up, Michael. IndyCar is strong. I'm glad you said it. I think it's as good as it's ever been. After that race, I'm going to tell you what, if I'm IndyCar right now, I'm loading up all of social media. I don't care what it is, with all the side-by-side, the
Yep.
banging of the wheels. And I can give them all some advice right now. I'll tell them my story. Load up social media with all the wheel banging, the lady, the mannequin falling, because people like a party. I mean, when as you know, the snake pit in Indy is a thing, whether we like it whether we like it or not, Talladega. But
Absolutely.
well, listen, IndyCar is strong. It's strong because of what you're doing. I want to thank you for being an owner. You selfishly retiring at such a young age, and you have got 3 cars, and now you're going to have 4 with your son Marco running the Indy 500. Michael, I'm just going to end like this. You're a complete badass. The Andrettis are the most legendary name.
Thanks.
And I want to thank you so much for being on Kenny Conversation.
My pleasure. It's been a lot of fun. Yeah. Make sure you stop by when you're at Indy.
I'm going to call Jay up and I'm going to say, Jay, I want a pass that says just go anywhere. I don't want.
Yeah. Well, we'll put you on our time stand, and hang out and see a little bit what we do.
Yeah. There's times I can stay quiet. When I get to the racetrack, I go in quiet mode and I'll be nervous, but I'm going to come up there and check you all out. Well, listen up, everybody. We are in podcast form. You can listen to the great Michael Andretti on your way to work and on your way home, because this is a long one. We are on iTunes and Spotify. Until next time, we'll see you later.
Thank you. Bye.